Hi, everybody. It's Danielle Moon with Women in Power, and today I am having just the most amazing time getting to talk with Sara Nicolas with Warner Brothers. So, a little different group of people that I never thought I'd get to interact with, and I can't wait to let you guys learn more about who Sara is and what she's doing in the Power Platform space. So, with that, Sara, would you take a moment to introduce yourself and tell us all the cool things that you're doing right now?
Sure, thank you. So I am a manager of digital systems, and I work primarily within a production finance COE, which was new. So that came about around 2 years ago. Our team supports 6 different divisions, including divisions like HBO, motion pictures, TV. So unscripted TV, animation, there's a lot that goes into this role. And I've been within the entertainment industry for about 6 years and with Warner Brothers for almost 10 years. So
Oh
that
my
kind of
gosh, I
dropped
love
into that kind of dropped into like my origin story. So
that. Okay, my favorite question, and you know that I'm going to have to ask is, what is your origin story that led you into the Power Platform space?
yeah, I mean, I feel like I have to go way back and talk about how I'm a 90s kid because I feel like being a 90s kid automatically, means that it makes technology second nature to me. I moved out at a young age, and I really built my resume, my early resume, on like the food service industry. So I was a lot in customer service, Starbucks, Pink Fairy, a lot of that, and that actually led me to working at Warner Bros. 2016. Being on the lot and being in this environment, it meant that the customers weren't general public, but that they were other WB employees. So it also meant for forming stronger connections with my regulars. We had a drink called the Sara Special that everybody knew about, so it was like forming those connections and really building up my people skills, I think, kind of helped me along my journey. So I'll never shy away from saying that I worked at Starbucks or, Central Perk for a bit of time. So, I mean, long story short, I was just casually doing my job at the counter, and one of my regulars was like, "Hey, are you looking for another job?" At the time, I was doing a lot of videography, so I was doing, just like little short. I was getting inspired by being on the lot, and so I was doing a lot of videography and just kind of tapping into a creative environment. So she kind of started following me and was like, "Hey, you don't really belong here. I think you should be in TV." So I was like, "Yes, great." It felt like the lottery win, right? She said,
Yeah.
"Great. I'm gonna set you up with 2 interviews." I got a call back and I got a job offer from Gina. So I will always give Gina credit for starting this journey. And when we went to Atlanta, I had a full circle moment with her where I was like, "Hey, did you ever think that we would be here after saying yes to me being your admin?" And she was like, "No, I had no idea, but it's great."
Yeah. No, you were discovered in the lot of Starbucks in Hollywood style. Like, you can't ask for a better origin story, right?
Yeah, it does feel like your typical Hollywood
Yeah.
story sometimes, even though I'm from LA and I'm from California. It's like,
Yeah.
it felt like a dream come true at the time. I was like, who does that? Who does that? But I just feel like I'm a
Gina,
big
it's
believer.
I'm gonna get an interview with her too. So
Yeah.
she's on my
No,
list.
you 1000% should. She is a wealth of knowledge, especially within the accounting world and
Yeah.
production finance in general. So yeah, I mean, that job, that entry level admin job, just led me down this road of being in a different space, being in an office space, and
Yeah.
recognizing that, hey, I'm doing repetitive data entry and taking something off of a PDF and replicating it 3 or 4 times just so that people have different information on different sheets.
Yeah.
So it just, I was like, there has got to be a better way, and it turns out there was. It turns out that it was also simple and kind of right in front of our face, because our company uses Outlook, right? Which means
Mhm.
that we had our general Microsoft licenses, and And it was great. I mean, it was easy, intuitive. That's what I liked about it. And that's what I still like about it. I don't have a coding background. I don't have anything
Right.
like that. So relying on a no code or low code was, now that I'm looking back at it, was like such a big gold mine for me to dive into.
Yeah. Do you
Yeah.
feel like it changed the trajectory of your career that you have this nuance to you that you're able to see processes in a different way and you're able to kind of have a higher impact because of what you're able to see through your lens?
Yeah. I mean, it, it's like, I feel like I spend a lot of my time nowadays trying to get people to see the vision, because
Yeah.
once you see it, you can't unsee it.
Yeah.
And you look at things and you're like, wait, why aren't we automating this? Everything. And I didn't come
Yeah.
from accounting either. So in my line of business, it's like all accounting, all bookies, all everyone who knows how to budget. And I'm like, what's a budget?
I'm really good at spending money,
Yeah, I'm like,
but
I'm
I'm
really
not
good
so
at
great
like
at accounting
charging.
for it.
Exactly. Um, so definitely, opening this world up
Mhm.
to me, and being able to really implement this. And it kind of took
Yeah.
off when the company formed a COE,
Mhm.
because what we were doing, and I was with TV initially with Gina, is building out like a small community. We have a SharePoint landing page that it has a shared list with all these contacts, all the shows that we're working on. So now everybody uses that as a central location, and then
Mhm.
we put automation on top of it. And now my team does a lot of ordering for accounting systems, which is what it was based off of in the beginning.
Yeah.
Um, so I have built up a really fun perspective of knowledge from these people and everything that I've worked towards, I guess.
Mhm.
And yeah, it's incredible to see now my leadership, open their eyes and actually see the art of the possible. I feel like uh, my current SVP, Ryan, he gets teased a lot for saying art of the possible. But it's so true, it's so true.
Yeah.
So yeah, this has definitely changed my trajectory immensely. I mean, I've only been with the entertainment industry for 6 years, so I've moved
Just insane.
around.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've moved around twice.
But
So
you're taking that business acumen that you've built up and you're able to relate it into a digital mindset, right? Where it's not always knowing the solution. I think it's understanding where to be asking the questions and what are those questions. Like the power of the question. I feel like people want to go straight to the big and flashy, and you're like, okay, but there's some like rudimentary questions we need to ask, and just doing that can light a fire into a whole project being seen.
yeah, exactly. And
Yeah.
I think that's where most of the workflows that I've built comes from, right? You break it down just to rebuild it. And
Yeah.
that's exactly. I had a conversation yesterday saying, I know this is how we do things now, but
Yeah.
if we didn't have this
Hmm.
macro Excel worksheet, how would we start it from this report?
Right.
Where would we go? How do we want to rebuild it? And it's
Hmm.
getting people to think that way that is the challenge, really, because
Right.
once they think that way, then it's like game over. We're just running 100 miles per hour.
Yeah. And then you're like, wait, we have to
Yeah,
organize
I'm like,
this.
hold on, let's
Yeah.
stop for a second. Hold on. Yeah,
Now
exactly.
you're like, oh my God,
Exactly.
everyone's excited. Crap. The herding
Yeah.
of the cats, right? Which goes
Yeah.
back to your COE and having some form of business that says, okay, we hear you, we see you. Uh,
Yeah.
now how are we going to put this into a business line of sight of what we need to go do?
Yeah. Lexi shared a quote with me the other day when we were chatting,
Hmm.
which was storming, forming, and norming. And I was
Oh yeah,
like, what did you just say to me? It changed my life because
yeah,
I could see it. I was like, oh, we're in the storm right now because
yep,
everyone's excited. Everybody is literally trying to hurricane through
yeah,
what exactly they want and how they want it.
yeah.
And then we formalize it and then we normalize it. So it's a part of the process, but I think it's fun and it gets people involved.
Well, and if you have the right people, I think it's also a way for kind of like with you didn't think this would be your future, right? Like this wasn't on your bingo list of like, yeah, I'll check that off. But I think what happens is a lot of people start seeing the possibilities and you have like new skills emerge, new perspectives that you're like, oh, now that we took, Susan out of the day to day and just asked these questions, look how much more she's lighting up. Look how the idea of what can be brought to life is there. And so I think it also just sometimes it's a storming, which means sometimes feelings get hurt and you have a little bit of the fighting situation, but then once you get past that and everyone's like, okay, we're good again, it changes the perspective too. And I think most teams come out even healthier going through that cycle.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree.
So, okay, so out of the space, one, I think it's just so crazy to think of the accounting side of Warner Brothers, only because most people just think the famous people,
Of
and the
course.
production side of it. What would you say is one of the things that people don't actually understand about your business and like how you guys are running? Because it's very different from just a normal financial team, right? Because you're in charge of thinking of the production and all of the pieces behind the scenes. So what do you think is something that a lot of people don't know about what you guys do?
I think that it's so easy to get caught up in the glitz and glam of Hollywood and
Yeah.
the lot, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Here,
it's
right here.
fun to come to the lot and you're like, oh my God, so you like see famous people all day? And I'm like, maybe, like sometimes, sure. But
I 100% did ask her this while we saw each other in Atlanta.
Yeah.
I was like, tell me about the famous people.
Yeah, exactly. And to be honest, they're just regular people. I think they're just doing their job also, right?
Yeah.
So uh man, there's just so much to unpack because I feel like the production side gets a lot of credit, as they should. There's directors and editors and all these assistants and doing coffee runs, and you see them throughout the lot too, by the way, like doing all these coffee runs. But then there's this other side of it where it's logistics.
Mm-hmm.
What really drives a production is what it is. And from TV, it's like, there's budgets, there's scripts that come by, they have to budget out the script, they have to decide if it's, is it going to be a multicam series? Is it going to be a single cam series? Like, what are the differences even? There's unions that are involved. There's hundreds, thousands of layers that go into actually even green lighting a project, because we have a lot of projects which we set up accounting systems for that are in development, but it has to be picked up by a network. It has to be, and honestly, I feel like Gina would be like, no, that's wrong. Like, like, no, what are you talking about? But from my perspective, it does have to be picked up by a network. It has to be picked up by a production company. Somebody has to produce it. It's not always going to be, Warner Bros. Television producing, like the Netflix series, right? So so there's so much that goes into planning, and really I feel like that's what it is. It's planning, and planning according to schedule, and having to work in a fast-paced environment. Everything moves so quick and so fast. If an actor calls out or can't make it in or something like that, they have to think, okay, like, well, what else are we going to do with this time? What else are we going to do with the set that we have? Is there another scene that we can pull through? So, which really isn't my side of the thing, but man, we have, working in the COE, we see maybe 50 to 80 shows per year. And each division has their own way of doing things. So the last year and a half, 2 years has been learning what these other divisions do and how they tick, because half of my team came from TV, the other half, came from HBO. Some are new from Sony. So it's like, this is such a specific place to be in. And it's hard. You can't find anybody with the experience and say like, oh yeah, I've done digital system setups. It's so new that it's hard to find experience. So you're just really looking for open-minded individuals who have been in the industry.
Thinking of that, if someone were new in career or someone looking to change in career, like what are the attributes that really make you think, yes, this is a good candidate for going into your space? Are you leaning more towards someone who has the accounting acumen or more of this like digital mindset and transformation?
If I had to choose one, I would probably choose like a digital mindset and transformation.
Yeah.
That's me. But if we're choosing an accounting team, obviously we're going to want somebody who knows how to do bookkeeping and things like that.
Yeah.
Ideally, a mix of both would be great, because there has to be a certain amount of understanding before you can start implementing. You really have to understand the business, how it works, in order to start making changes, right? Like I can't just be like, I'm digital forward. Let's just jump in and know nothing. You really have to, and I think that's where, I kind of fit in perfectly, where I am the perfect side, like I have the perfect amount of knowledge where it can definitely get me by as like a business expert. And I'm tech savvy. So, let's break it down and let's see how we can run with it. So it was a very unconventional path that I took, I feel like, but getting here is certainly achievable, and you just kind of have to, it's not really about what you know, it's about who you know. I feel like I hear that a lot. So, building out your reputation is,
too, right?
1000%.
There's so much more power. And I think, with Women in Power, the idea is that having skills, great, soft skills, phenomenal. That doesn't help you if you don't know somebody who's going to crack the window, open the door, do the introduction. I think having the ability to call upon your network is the superpower of all powers, right? We just talked about this yesterday in our like 1 year anniversary for WIP. Is like, someone was asking about learning and skilling, and she was like, oh, I guess overwhelmed with all the things we have to learn. And I said, I kind of gave up being the expert, right? I used to think I needed to be the expert so that I could like hold my own place at the table and be taken seriously. And in about 4 years ago, when I first joined Microsoft, I was told, have a reputation, create a brand. Like that's how you'll stand out in the Microsoft space, because there's 200,000 people. And with that, the big key part was have that network, collaborate with people, because if you do, you don't have to be the expert. You just need to know who to call, who can give you that answer, rapidly, or come talk on behalf of you to bring in as an elevated expert in that field. And that can come across just as strongly as being an expert, but you're trading off on the relationships instead of just leaning into all the books and the skilling that you can do. There's still fun in that, but not to put so much like pressure to always feel like you have to be the expert to be taken seriously.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's kind of where I'm at now. We're identifying citizen developers. I'm trying to champion these citizen developers and get them the basics. Like you said, people love to see the shiny stuff, so they want all the cool stuff and extravagant stuff first. But I'm like, wait, let's pull it back. Let's start ground level.
The razzle dazzle's great, but there's stuff you have to need through.
You need
before
the
you can get to
fundamentals. You need the fundamentals before you could even work in like Copilot Studio, right? I think it's a little bit more advanced, and without my experience in Power Automate, I don't know if I would be able to do it. Because
it's true.
Yeah, when I started in
Power
Automate, when I started in Power Automate, it was at a time where it was still Power Virtual Agents. So I was in Power Virtual Agents, like, oh my gosh, look at what I could do. And it goes to this page in the accounting manual. Look at it, guys. It's great. It's been great though. I mean, look at where we are.
Right. No, it's one of the, like, with all the things coming out with AI, specifically like Copilot, right? That's we're Copilot everything in that space. What you talked about of like looking for someone with accounting, do you feel like it's going to be more constrained to find people with accounting knowledge if, one, I think that recent studies have showed like counting is hurting. You're really suffering trying to find people who are willing to do the checks and balances. By the way, I failed accounting twice, so I have no chance. And basically the professor and I came to an agreement that was like, I won't be an accountant, but if you fail me one more time, I'll probably get wildly disruptive and have a lot more jokes next semester. And so it was like, gentlemen's agreement. Let's just pass Danielle and get her out of here.
Oh my God.
But with that, do you think that AI is going to become a little bit more disruptive for people who are just in the accounting space and unwilling to move into digital? And or do you think it's like we might not need as many accountants because AI is going to be able to do so much within that space?
No, I think that in our specific industry, production accounting is not completely different from regular accounting, but it is different.
Yeah.
You can't really go to school for production accounting. You have to have an understanding of the chart of accounts and the studio and all the unions that go into it and everything that goes into production. You have to have a knowledge for it. So
Yeah.
it's really, I work with a lot of the accounting teams, and that's where a lot of my workflows and things that I'm scaling out now have come from. And it's from their, from their opportunities that I'm capitalizing on. So for example, when I first started, everything was paper. One of my jobs was to like get a deal memo, which has somebody's deal terms on it. I'd have to go get it signed by Gina. And if the deal term was a certain amount, then I need to get it signed by another SVP.
And you're physically walking that sheet around a lot.
Yeah, you're physically walking this around or giving it to a PA and saying, hey, I need to go get these signatures, go drop it off in the mailbox. And then it would circulate. And it was honestly a well-oiled paper machine. But during the pandemic, we were forced into this digital world, literally. And we tried to move as much as we could, but it took time, and it took time for our accountants to adjust. And one of the, just because we went digital doesn't mean that the process is stopped. Like we still need to have employee files, for example. So you have about 800 employees. In a paper world, you would have the start packet, you would have all of their time cards, any of their allowances, anything that's special for them goes into their special folder. And then, so now that we've transitioned that into digital, it's like, what are they going to do? Scan everything in? No, let's just keep it digital. But that came with another challenge, which is, oh my gosh, I have to, at the end of a season, I was just looking at these numbers yesterday. At the end of a season, you're processing around 12,000 time cards, which means that you have to rename 12,000 time cards. You have to rename 12,000 check copies that go with those time cards. There's invoices that are involved. So my first major workflow was because an accounting team was like, we can't rename all these. We're going to need help. Like, they were freaking out about it. And
call the humans.
Yeah, literally call a computer, call someone, call my mom. And so that was my first challenge was to help this team. A VP at the time was super encouraging about finding, encouraging me to find something. He's like, there's got to be something in this space that we can capitalize on. And I was like, okay, I'll make it work. Yeah. So I took about a month and a half, and mind you, I am maybe 3 months into Power Automate and being exposed into really low
level
stuff
already.
Yeah, so it really forced me into that. But what I ended up creating is something that we're scaling out now, and still. And it was a bulk renaming tool for time cards. So they can drop in anywhere from 1 to 100 time cards, and it would rename it in less than 30 seconds. Pulling out, using AI Builder, obviously.
I love AI Builder.
I love AI Builder. It's like my best friend now. Like
I know.
I got
it. If you see me nerd out, let's talk hyper automation with AI Builder, and I will. It's just like, don't even watch the time. It's gonna be all day.
Yeah, exactly. So I feel like in this industry specifically, they are so, like, the teams that I work with, they're so grateful to have that kind of a tool, because not all of them have the budget to have an assistant. So, which means that it's just a payroll accountant by themselves, processing 800 time cards a week, and you're having to rename all of that.
Not fun job. Like, that's the other thing. If I'm an intern or if I'm entry level, am I going to get the coolest aspect of what my job could be if my first job is data entry, right? Like, I look at that as your churn model having there's no excitement, there's no engagement to understand the business. You're just doing data entry. So it's like, if you can offset that with AI Builder and a prompt that runs in an automation and you're just like, get it, go. Now you've opened up still a head count, but they can focus on something that's way more intriguing, way more creative, that, I think would inspire someone to want to stay in a company, right? Which a lot of
Exactly.
companies struggle to retain talent because they don't have anything that's got the hook, right? So
No,
it's
yeah,
like,
exactly. To be honest, my younger brother, my youngest brother works on a show. He works
mhm.
on the accounting team. And my best friend also works on there because, you get them in the door, get them where you can.
It's who
And
you know.
my poor brother spent the first like 2 years of accounting just filing, gaming, and I was
Yep.
like, there's a better way for this. Working closely with them, and I think that's part of my sell too, by the way, is opening up, like you said, a headspace for maybe they'll spend only 10 hours, not even, maybe 5 hours a week dealing with their weekly renamings. I said the other time should be spent on educating them because these people are, like I said, you can't really go to school for it, but,
Right.
Everyone has learned from the ground up. So you have to take into consideration that using a tool like this, you can turn a clerk into a second assistant or a second assistant into a first assistant at a more advanced pace. And now we're creating more accountants in our spaces. So,
Right.
and just because you work at WB doesn't mean that you can't go to another studio. They're
Right.
all freelance contractors. So you can go to Netflix, you can come back and maybe not with WB TV, but then you can work with HBO or motion pictures. So, I think digital is going to change and is already changing that world.
Yeah.
But, I feel like as long as you have that mindset of learning continuously and, just being, I don't know, just, I don't even know what I'm trying to say right now, but just
Well,
being
I
like
mean,
that.
kind of being provocative, right? Like asking the engaging questions and
Yeah.
like never just accepting an answer, I think is part of that, right? Just being a curious little cat. And like I joke with people where I'm like, my kids all went through the 3-year-old why stage where you thought you were going to lose your ever loving mind because they're just like, why? And you're like, cool. And like sometimes you really did want to answer them. And then and you would be like, I gave him a succinct, good answer. And then he'd be like, why? And you're like, no, 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 I answered that. Should not ask. But then I find in business, if we were to adapt more back to that 3-year-old mindset of just why, oh,
Yeah.
you have this process, we want to digitize it. Why? Like what are you capturing that you still need today that you started the system 10 years ago? Is all that data still relevant? Are we able to automate the intake of some of that? And,
Yeah.
like it just becomes that constant why? Why are we doing it this way? Mentality that I think when people have that, one, it can be slightly annoying
Yeah.
because sometimes you're like, I don't know, just do the thing that you need to do and let's move on.
Yeah.
But at the same time, if we start creating more people who are pushed down into this data entry and that kind of stuff, that frees them up to ask why, like why are we doing it this way? Is there a better way for us to be doing it? Can we automate this? Can we create an app for the intake so they're not putting it into an Excel sheet? Like those provocative kind of questions start coming out because they're not just going from one Excel entry point to another, right?
Yeah. And it's hard to know what's possible if
Yeah.
you have no idea what it can do, you know?
100%. If you save them 5 hours from data entry, now they can do 5 hours of shadowing, like you said, to the
Yeah.
first assistant. That was something that people are like, oh, we don't have time to do that. And you're like, but
Yeah.
that's the gold. That's the information they really need, not getting this line item in.
Exactly. Exactly. And it's not necessary anymore, I feel like, to
Yeah.
sit there and file away and, rename until your fingers bleed. And it's like, it's just not necessary because we
Killing
just live in a
keyboards on
world.
the weekly
Yeah,
basis.
like taking them out on the weekly. It is just not necessary. It's much more efficient to find some sort of automation. So,
Yeah.
we are working on scaling that tool specifically. So at the end of the year, if we have like 50 shows, the amount of documents that we'll rename is like close to 1 million. Like it's and in a fraction of the time. So it's incredible to see. And people are like, hey, can you do this for invoices? I'm like, yes.
Yes.
So now they start to get this
Yeah.
different process of thinking and saying like, wait, all I have to do is drag and drop and I don't have to do anything else.
Yeah.
Great. You know,
Yeah.
and
I don't have to
so
code, you know.
yeah, exactly. And that's exactly like where we want to get.
Yeah.
We have to get you know, a couple of our ducks in a line before we even get there, but it will happen. And this is going to be a very digital facing studio.
Mm-hmm.
And I really think it's going to change. It's going to be awesome. And you know, we live in this world where I was just talking to Jean about this yesterday, where it's like we have these archaic processes.
Yeah.
Why? Why do we need to do this? It's not necessary. Let's think about, you know, if we didn't have any of this, how would we get here now? How do we build this now? Knowing what she knows now, it's I could see it opening her mind. She's like, where do I learn? I said, let's talk to Copilot. Hey, Copilot, you're a professor on Power Automate. Let me know what's going on. How do you know what's the quickest way for me to learn?
I love that.
So it's like, you know, putting things into a perspective where it's like, okay, yes, Copilot is great for these standard, you know, use cases. It's just like, what's my day look like? And what
I do love the what's my day look like, and is there anything urgent? Because with an ADD mindset, Copilot is like the best little assistant I could ever ask for, right? And I'm like, what have I not completed that is on my list? And it's like, oh yeah, you owe these 3 things. And I'm like,
no, exactly. You know? And I feel like sometimes people will use it for that and then just that. And then it's like, no.
It's like tip of the iceberg.
So much more. Yeah, literally tip of the iceberg. There's so much that can be done with it. So I feel like a lot of my time nowadays is just spent on like, okay, let's open up Copilot. Let's see what we could do, you know, and they'll drop into budgets and I'll ask it for a comparison and it'll just run it. And, you know, I feel like that was like Gina's aha moment where she was like, oh, you're kidding me. She was checking her numbers, making sure that it was right. And I was like, yeah, let's go. So
and where you can actually say like, okay, here's 2 different documents, show me where they're different and which one should be considered higher knowledge than the other. I mean, you have so many things you can do in the contrasting space that a human would have had to really spend a lot more time with. I don't know if you've tried the researcher in Copilot space. You can add the agent for researcher, and there's another one for analyst. Oh my gosh, like I submitted in the requirements for a customer and I was like, oh, I got to really think like how I want to solution this. And is Copilot Studio the right fit, or should I be leaning more into the Azure space? So I gave it all the parameters and I said, like, compare what they can do in Copilot Studio versus Azure, or is it a better together story? Like the whole 9 yards. My prompt was like a paragraph long. It spit out like 10 pages of thoughtful interaction of going through the requirements, analyzing what that made sense and doesn't. But it's just like, I could have never, like, yes, in my head, I'm sure some of that stuff was very much like, got it. But the way that it articulated, I'm like, I feel even more solid in how I'm representing my viewpoint, right? It's things like that where I'm like, don't stop with the how's my day or did I miss anything? I'm like, push the limits. Make those prompts intense. They will pay for themselves. I can promise you that.
Exactly. And, you know, I feel like that's what we do every day, is just encouraging other people to keep going and keep asking questions, because, you know, I feel like staying curious and open to new ideas is really crucial for, you know, your growth in the digital space. Like you have to continue to do that.
So with Power Platform being the speed to market, right? The ability to just like put things together, test it out in a dev environment and all that kind of stuff. Do you feel like the culture has changed to allow for more, instead of traditional development where we're like almost a waterfall approach, you're looking now at citizen developers being able to do it? Do you feel like the culture shifted to allow for failures to happen faster type of thing, or do you think people are still a little too scared to try?
I think currently people are curious.
Yeah.
But I think that, I don't know if scared to try is like the right, like maybe there's like a certain level of, you know, VPs and stuff that like aren't scared to try but just don't know how to start.
Yeah.
So it's a mix of like, okay, it's a mix of just like, I get a lot of like questions, which are great. We loved questions. But I always encourage people like, just jump in.
Yeah.
Find something in your mind, watch a YouTube video, go to YouTube University and go see
Full
what's
graduate of
out there.
YouTube
Like
University.
honestly,
April
bachelor's,
Dunham.
masters, doctorates, like, oh,
Yeah,
April
no,
Dunham
no.
is
April
legend.
Dunham is phenomenal. I
Legend.
mean, I still like as a total nerd when I got hired at Microsoft almost 4 years ago, and I realized I can message her on Teams. Um, this is why I'm like, I should not be allowed on any production sites because
Yeah.
I'll just be like, you're famous and I'm going to make you my friends.
Yeah.
But I messaged April and I was like, oh my gosh, like it's you and I can message you on Teams and the whole 9 yards. And I look back and I cringe every time that I was so freaking excited. But she's like, she breaks things down. I love the way that she creates her content. And it's like, if you're trying to get started, she is one of the go-to people to learn from because she knows how to articulate and really break steps down and tells you why you should be doing it, not just how you should do it. So, yeah.
Yeah. No, exactly. And that's like 50, maybe even 70% of the work, because
Yeah.
getting people to know, and it's not exactly, there's lots of educational documents on
Yeah.
how to use Power Automate and stuff like that, but at the end of
Microsoft
the
loves their
day,
documents.
they do, and I love to search through them, but at the end of the day, if you're not in there building, it's really hard. Like sometimes I'll build stuff and then I know that I can do that, but I'll have to go back to that workflow and be like, wait, how did I do that?
Oh, 100%.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have to go back, and it's almost one of those things where if you don't use it, you lose it. And
Absolutely.
staying in there and staying in that world, and just, I tell them to start with something simple. Hey, like send a notification every time this weekly schedule gets sent out. I was like, maybe you want to file the schedule. Start there. If you have questions, let me know. So we're starting very, very small, and building out like just some fundamental guidelines.
Yeah, but you're creating FOMO with that. Someone's like, oh yeah, my schedule is now just automatically doing this. People are like, excuse me?
Like, what do you mean by that? Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like, it gets them to start talking and creating that FOMO of like, well, I want that too. If you have that, like, I want that. I think it's really smart how you're going about that, because there are a lot of people who try to do the overview. And an overview is great to know the art of the possible that's out there. But when it comes to actually going and learning, I think you're so spot on. Go with a mission. I'm trying to solve for X. And that will help you streamline what information you actually need to follow up, what YouTube videos you actually want to look into. And it makes you feel a lot better because you're building and learning. And so you're immediately seeing like a result versus just taking in all of the information we have out there.
Yeah, because it is a lot of information.
It is a lot.
But it's so fun. Like I can nerd out. I went to the Power Platform conference in Vegas. That was like my first taste of like the keynotes, and everyone was in that, like the little bracelets were lighting up. I was like, oh my gosh, this is so cool. And it was my first look at like, recording with Copilot. And I was like, oh my gosh, I have got to get my hands on that. It does something. Yeah, it does something to you.
Once you get it, you get it. The culture of Power Platform is so different from a lot of products out there. And I think it just kind of enriches the whole experience on top of it.
It does. It does. It's a slow process right now, but once these citizen developers really get into it and have the time to get into it, they are each business use case experts. So I have somebody from HBO, somebody from motion pictures, somebody from unscripted, somebody from TV. So those are now the people that I'm like, okay, let's try and build something. And any of their ideas I'm sharing with one another, because, we don't want to live in a culture where we're hoarding information just to potentially have like job safety. I was like, no, let's grow each other. Let's be in this kind of community where I could teach you. Let's go. We want to empower one another. And I feel like in a big conglomerate like this, it's very common to see, people just hoarding information, being like, no, this is mine. Don't take it.
Industry. I think that's very much in the industry, is that people want to hold onto their intellectual property instead, and they don't realize the value of if you're the person everybody goes to, you still have strength and you have, something about you that's contributing. It's just in a different way.
Yeah.
So switching gears a little, what would you say has been some of the best advice that you've gotten that, still kind of plays in your head every once in a while?
I mean, I think kind of what I said earlier, which is like, you know, keep learning, like never
Yeah.
stop learning. And technology is ever evolving, and, staying curious and open to new ideas is just like, I feel like that's something that I just live by. The words don't like articulate in my head all the time. And I'm just like, I just want to learn this. I just want to learn, like right now I'm trying to learn, I'm taking like a little Python class just
I
because,
love that.
because I just feel like it would be a good addition to my repertoire that I have, so it's just, I think, living in authenticity and just really finding what you're passionate about. And
Yeah.
turns out I'm passionate about not necessarily automation and AI, although that stuff is great. But I think what really drives me is the ability to help people, because it is so incredibly satisfying to hear like the feedback that I get from, releasing it like a tool, like a renaming time card tool. People are like, yo, you should patent this. Like, this is incredible. I wouldn't even be filing if this didn't exist. So really just helping people at the end of the day. And I think that's what kind of drives me and keeps me wanting to learn and keeps me going, really. It's just, it's great to hear the gratitude that people have for things that I've created. Keeps
huge.
me going. Yeah.
Yeah. When we met in Atlanta at the Power Platform Tour, and you put up with me as the host for that lovely day.
You made a big impression. Come on now.
And we talked about women in power. What was it that kind of made you think like I want to be involved in this community? What was the draw to the community?
For women in power specifically?
Yeah.
So I come from I have like 5 siblings, right? So I come from, I have two younger siblings, or sorry, 2 younger sisters, 2 younger brothers, and 1 older sister. And the idea of my younger sisters having me to kind of look up to, I feel like is just an inspiration on its own. I'm 20 years older than my youngest sibling. So, she's, I think, like in her junior year, prepping for college. My other sister, I'm 17 years older from her. I dropped her off at Berkeley, and it was like, just having these conversations as they're growing into young adults.
Yeah.
I was like, man, I gotta show these ladies how to like get what you want and, show a little grit. Like, don't just roll over to, any standard that is set for you. And when I invited them over, so we were just talking, and they were like, so what do you do? Like, we know that you work at WB, but what is it? And I was
the
like,
Chandler moment. I'm like,
yeah, exactly. Like, what are you doing? Little this, little that. But and so, that conversation, I could see it spark something inside of them, because one of my sisters was like, oh my gosh, that's so cool. Like, I was explaining how I work in, production finance, and I do a lot of automation and help out the accounting teams with stuff like that.
Yeah.
And she was like, oh man, that's so cool. I can't wait to just be a boss like that. And I was like, what are you saying? And she was like, just to be able to speak, and like, I don't know what you're talking about, but it sounds really cool.
Sounds really
and she changed. She's a biomedical engineering, but that's her major, but she's minoring in computer science now. Because,
oh my God, I love that. My youngest sister went the biology route too, and I'm like, I don't understand anything you do, and she's like, same. I recently said, describe what you think I do, and it was so not anything close.
It's always a fun game. I love that.
it's one of those things where I'm like, based off of what I said, she's like, you're like a speaker. And I was like, sometimes. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
absolutely part of the gig. Like it comes from that. But she's like, and then you create apps on a platform. And I was like, yeah, very close, very close.
Yeah,
So, but
yeah,
it's a fun
close
game to
enough,
play.
but it is a fun game to
Yeah.
play. So I think that really drives a lot of like my inspiration and
Yeah.
um, being a part of a community that is empowering women literally to
Yeah.
to take the lead in I feel like what was previously a male dominated industry.
Yeah.
It feels good. It feels
Yeah.
good to be a part of something like that. So I mean, I guess thanks to you, right, to creating something so
I lit a spark, and I will say my leadership team is probably some of the hardest working, coolest volunteers I could have ever asked to be in the same room with. So, I might be the loud voice, but the
but it's
leadership team
incredible.
is,
It's incredible
yeah,
what it's doing because it's just inspiring. Like it's inspiring in general to hear that women are coming together and they're
yeah,
sticking together. And I feel like women have a reputation for kind of being catty and at each other's throats,
yeah,
but it's it's just not like that in this world. I mean, everyone is so open to helping one another, and
yeah,
that's the bottom line. Even if it wasn't, with automation, it's
yeah,
still a cool idea to have, you know, a group of women empowering one another,
sure,
regardless
yeah.
of the subject line. So,
Well, and it brings me to you, right? Like people like
yeah,
I would have never crossed paths with you, right? We're in very different worlds. And now being able to share this connection, and then Gina, I think Gina and I absolutely just gushed over each other when we met. And I was like, this, I'm keeping you. And I was like, congratulations, I'm putting it in my pocket. Like you
yeah,
can't.
yeah.
I'm like, when are we vacationing together? And when will you let me loose on the lot? And so but
Anytime,
yeah,
anytime. Let's
but
go.
that to me, I think these are the moments of these connections, right? Enlightening each other of the story that you have and your journey that you've done that somebody might, someone's going to watch this video and go, okay, well, yeah, accounting is fun, but I never thought about production accounting. Like, what an interesting world to think about, and that might inspire someone to raise their hand and say, I want to do this. I want to learn about it. I think that's the true power of it. And then, the mentoring side of it. Would you say you've had any mentors that kind of helped you during your career, Gina? It's like,
Yeah, I mean, not to bring up Gina like a
yeah,
thousand times in this
I
conversation,
know. Gina's like
but
gonna be like, what is
I know she's
happening?
gonna
But
be like,
like,
I can't believe you.
yeah, I know.
Like,
She's like,
sorry,
you don't know
love you.
anymore.
But no, I mean, I think that she gave me an opportunity, and she's a very humble human being. So she's like, you did this on your own, kind of thing. So she likes to encourage me to kind of empower that. But
Yeah,
really, at the end of the day, I think that she saw something inside of me that maybe wasn't seen anywhere else, and
yeah.
she trusted me. I felt like from the beginning.
Which
She
is
we
huge.
Yeah, we
You know,
connected really quickly.
yeah.
Um, so I know that her favorite drink is a Diet Coke. I know that she loves a peppermint York patty. So from time to time, I'll just drop by and
Just-
give her a little treat. Let her know I still
oh
care.
my God, I
But
love that.
I do go to, like, I'm pointing up because she's in an office that's like probably like that way a little bit. Um, but she's been helping me, and to be honest, my partner is also an incredibly smart human being as well. She works for a organic soda company. Shout out Zevia, and it's like she was a criminal justice major, so
Oh my
she's
gosh.
which is just
Okay.
like
Yeah.
so if you need to know like how any like fingerprints are made like and stuff like that, like she's like my
Organic.
lawyer as well. Like
I mean, that's again, it's like, I think growing up, to me, it was always like you pick a career and you stay in that career. And I love now that, Power Platform changed the trajectory of my career. And I've seen the same with so many others where I'm like, they have absolutely gone against or changed or just uprooted entirely and said, I'm not thriving, not having fun. What else is out there? And so to me, that's so cool that somewhat of the Power Platform plays into that to open people's eyes to say, like, what else is out there? What else can I do? I didn't think I'd be able to accomplish this, and now look at me. Um, so I think that's so cool for the different origin stories. So
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
I have one last question, and it's my as most people know, it's one of my favorite. Um, what is your superpower?
I've thought about this, and I don't know if it's a superpower. So we'll start
Anything
there.
is acceptable as long as you feel like it's a superpower. It's always the right answer.
I I think I have an iron mouth, meaning
Okay.
that I really enjoy ridiculously spicy food. Uh, and I mean like I will gather people in my office and be like, hey, I got chicken wings. We're doing hot ones. And we'll just, I swear to you, I am. We had like a monthly segment called Fuego Fridays,
Oh my gosh.
where at the time I would gather my PAs and we would go grab some hot wings and we'd order the hot sauces from Hot Ones, and everyone would just sit there and you know suffer together.
What is the late night show that does that?
It's Hot Ones.
Okay, oh, it is
It's like
Hot
a
One.
it's like a
Okay.
it's like a
Yeah, I
YouTube
watch
show.
that and I cry for them because
Yeah.
I'm the polar opposite. Like I like different spice. Like growing up in Texas, there's a spice palette that's like specific to the food you're gonna find in Texas. Or
Yeah.
but if you go beyond that, I am the wimpiest of wimpy kids.
Yeah,
So
I have family. My mom's from Texas. She's from El
okay.
Paso. So, I don't know. I guess it's just in my blood.
I
I love
love
things
it.
spicy, and I love finding things that can actually make me tear up because it's rare to come across. I feel like Tabasco adds flavor.
I like food
Like
that makes me cry, you know?
yeah, pretty much. Like I enjoy the like. So I don't know if that's a superhero power, but it's
I love
certainly
it.
fun. It's certainly fun.
No, it's definitely a superpower because I don't think most people can hang at that level. So,
Yeah.
well, Sarah, thank you so much for spending time with me today. I definitely laughed and enjoyed it immensely. And yes, if anybody wants to connect, please go ahead and connect with Sarah. And yeah, again, thank you so much for being part of this.
Yeah, thank you for having me. This is fun. I love
Yeah,
it.
awesome.